Hello, welcome to Managerial Accounting. In this video, we will be talking about cost accounting. In fact, if we can break it down, it will be a cost estimate. Before we move further, I would like to point out that do not be confused cost versus price because they are two different things. The focus of today's video is cost structure, not price. But if there is a need, we can also talk about price some other time. Before we move, you may pause in your pace to read this disclaimer, and the next slide is shortly about me. Cost accounting. What are we going to talk about? Here, we probably running a merchandise business, or we might have a manufacturing business or services. The question is that what kind of cost structure do they have? How are they going to do their cost structures? So let's start with some examples. The price for this packs, not cost, the price for this is $1,165. And the question is that how IKEA, the company that I worked for in Austria and the US, came up with this price, offering it to the customers. Let's give another example. Or we see that the price of this iPhone is $999. Of course, taxes are not included. This is the price offered to the customers. And the question is that how much does it cost for Apple to offer it at $999? Let's give another example. My favorite company, Toyota. So Highlander, this is one of the models that I love. And you see that this is $39,000 LE model, and then you see different models. Here the highest in this slide is $46,000, and then when you go to the next slide, the highest is $51,000. And the question is that how come Toyota came up with this price, and how much does it cost for Toyota to come up with this price to offer to the customers, and what kind of cost factors are there? Let's give some more examples before talking about those. So what is the cost structure in case we have an accounting firm and this accounting firm offers filing taxes, and what's their cost structure? Or it's a semiconductor manufacturer and they are doing chips, and then what is their cost structure? And what if it's a hospital, doctor's fees or medical examinations or medicines we buy from pharmacies? Or what if it's a coffee shop where we go in and try to hang out with friends and we buy some coffee, or we have this business to run? What kind of cost structure do they have? Or grocery? Okay. The answer to these are starting. We're going to talk about those in these slides. So something called product cost or manufacturing cost, and it starts from direct labors, direct materials, and manufacturing overhead. So let's start with a combination of direct materials, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead is considered, or is called, product cost or manufacturing cost. Let's break them out in the next slides. So direct materials actually is referred to the materials that will be used to convert raw materials to finished product. And each cost, the cost is directly traceable to product being manufactured. Let's give an example. Let's say we make a piece of table and then we use wood, and then the wood that's used for that piece of table is considered direct materials. Or we are making a piece of clothes. The fabric that's used to make that piece of clothes is called direct material. And what's direct labor? So direct labor, same concept as direct materials, is referred to the wages and salaries of employees who are directly involved in the production process. Let's say semiconductor business. We have an assembly engineer. So the number of hours this engineer works to make one chip or one semiconductor, so that amount times how much the company pays the engineer is actually direct labor. It's considered direct labor. Don't worry, we have more examples to share. And let's talk about now manufacturing overhead. And manufacturing overhead actually consists of the costs that are indirectly associated with the manufacturing of the finished product. So let's say indirect labor. The key here is that indirect, and it's hard to trace per unit produced. These are the key. For example, you're making a chip or a table, and then you have factory manager. How much of the factory's manager's salary is associated to one table produced? So it's hard to trace it. That's why they are called manufacturing overhead. Or the same for site supervisor or facility. So another category to to manufacturing overhead is indirect materials. Let's say we buy a huge box of glue and then we use to make one table. So it's hard for us to trace how much is the cost of using glue for one table. So that's why they are called manufacturing overhead. Or in the factory, we are doing some cleaning, we use some cleaning stuff. So it's also the same concept. Let's give more examples. So we talked about cleaning supplies, so lubricants for machines, and indirect labor. We talked about salaries of supervisor, about maintenance staff. It's more example. Or depreciation on production equipment, utilities used in the production facility, rent for the manufacturing space, product costs. Let's say product costs where we started here are referring to direct materials, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead costs. And the difference between direct materials and indirect are that direct are associated via it's easy to trace per unit produced versus manufacturing overhead or indirect. It's difficult. Of course it's maybe possible when we really dig into this, but it's difficult to do that. That's why they are called manufacturing overhead. To summarize this, then we have period costs. Costs, if I, without going through the definition, you may pause and read it, but let's say the cost that we need to do the selling expenses, like sales and marketing. Without marketing, we cannot sell the product. They are considered or called non-manufacturing costs. Or administrative expense. Let's give an example of Apple. Apple has its headquarters in one of the cities in California. All the people sitting in Apple headquarters, their salaries are categorized as period cost in specifically administrative expense. Alright, I have prepared case study to go through all of this in an applied manner, what the approach of this video is, overall my approach is. And before doing that, I want to walk you through very high level on manufacturing value chain. So that means where it starts and where it ends. So it starts with research and development and then goes to production design. That means somebody has to do some research and then came up with a product. And then, of course, he or she has to do the prototype and design the product. And once we are there and it's finalized, we buy the materials. And then once we buy the materials, we start production. And then after it's produced, we do sales and marketing and, of course, delivery to the customers, and then maintaining relationship with the customers. As I mentioned, if we only talk about the manufacturing value chain, each of these topics will take hours to talk about, but this is a very high level to provide some ideas of how the process is. Okay, now time for some practical thing, and in fact some concepts and methodologies and concepts that how are we going to do that. So these are some of the selective and famous concept techniques that are used. The first thing is that process costing, and process costing is actually recommended for industries that they are continuously producing the same product, and there is no difference for the type of products they produce. So this process is recommended. Another example, another concept is activity-based costing. This basically recommended for the types of industries where several processes are involved. Let's say we are producing a car. It starts from research and development, and basically then goes to design, and then, well, let's talk about specifically about production. It starts from making the whole body, and then painting, and then assembling. Each of these stage or is a process that activity-based costing would fit. And then we have job order costing, and in fact the case study that I prepared is this job order costing is applied. And in fact job order costing is used for industries where the types of products they are manufacturing are different, and that's why, and the purpose of this model is that when you use it, you want to make sure that the job that you did, if you are making money from that or not. An example will help. Let's say you are producing 10 tables, and then the approach to job order costing is that how much does it cost you to make 10 tables, and then when you sell them, then you figure out that if you made money from those tables or not. And some other costing models are marginal costing, cost plus, which is what we are not talking about in this video, but these are just for your information. And now quickly let's go through the case study that I prepared, and then we wrap up this video, and then in the next video we are practically showing you that how to use job order costing in a manufacturing business. In fact, I selected a company called Lam Research. This is one of my favorites, and this company is specialized in manufacturing a customized semiconductor to the needs of high performance computing clients. And in this example, the company uses job order costing for production of 1,000 semiconductor for advanced computing. All right, so this is with this we are concluding our video, and then see you in the next video with application of these concepts. Thank you.